Hi everyone, it's Eva speaking. For those who don't know me, I am the business transformation coach, business management coach, and I help companies, especially software as a service businesses, to optimize their product delivery and achieve more in a shorter, more agile way of working. What I do is usually split in between various areas that is around the product, the processes, people, and toolbox. And I have nearly 20 years of experience working in the IT industry. I was working as the IT project manager, then I was helping the businesses to transform their ways of working, acting as the agile coach, and last but not least, the biggest experience I have gained over last few years working on the intersection of the agile transformations, helping the companies to establish more predictable system of work and utilize the tools, especially Atlassian tool stack. So today I want to talk about the challenge that I'm seeing very often. I would say majority of my customers are having the same problem, and the nature of the problem is usually around the scope of the product, the priorities that the team needs to focus on to deliver. Very often there is also lack of predictability, so the business side doesn't know when the engineering team will get the job done and complete the incremental value delivery and product version delivery. And also it's difficult to understand how long something will take for the implementation. Therefore also it's tricky to establish the timeline. So to me, all in all, there is a challenge of how to operationalize the product strategy and business strategy and convert it, translate it into meaningful operational process that will be supporting the whole system, meaning the whole organization, be it from the research and development to the engineering, to the support, marketing activities, sales activities, maybe some science. There is a lot of buzz around AI these days, and a lot of companies are actually playing out, creating different AI algorithms that are then being incorporated into the products. So I want to talk about with you about the framework, the model that I've created. It's followed by many years of my experience, and I'm practicing this framework with more and more customers, and I'm seeing that it is given more like holistic idea on how the business processes can be optimized. So in this framework, what is very important is this like concept of how do we operationalize the product strategy. And the operationalization of the product strategy is to resolve the biggest challenges that the companies are facing. So in this case, it's indeed about the timelines, the roadmap planning, dependency management, risk management, knowing if we will actually ship the version of a product on time, so that our different marketing activities and different activities we have created around the product promotion, outreach to the customers is actually will fit and align with the timeline that we have created around these other activities. So these are like the biggest challenges. Beneath these challenges, very often I'm seeing the communication patterns that have a lot of room for optimization and improvement. Decision making that is not necessarily also optimized, meaning that the decisions are taking so much time and they are very lengthy. So the moment to arrive to the decision is actually taking a lot of time, and also it's not always clear who is making the decision. And as we know, like even in 2025, this is still the case. We used to talk about the golden triangle in the project management, which is delivering on time, scope, and budget. And that was like 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. We continue having the same conversation. And reality check is that 67% of product strategies fail, and up to 90% of strategies are not even executed successfully. So generally speaking, majority of companies are lacking the ability to effectively implement strategies. And that is still the pain point companies are facing. And if you are that company facing similar challenges, you can always reach out to me, and I'm happy to exchange with you and explore the challenge that just you are facing in bigger level of details. But what it really, like, the impact that it brings to the operational and performance is actually significant. So the fact that you and companies are struggling to convert strategy into operations so that the product delivery is actually smooth and it's like predictable, efficient, performant, and so on, it's really like the impact is severe, and it's usually like one of the top reasons why those strategic initiatives are failing. The impact is on the disconnected processes, and this is like because of organizational silos. So it's actually more like a root cause of it. So because of that disconnected processes and organizational silos, there is the challenge to convert and operationalize the strategy into efficient processes. Then also there are like certain shortcomings that we can see in our ways of working, both on the leadership side and the way how we create the type of culture we create in the organization. And very often there are certain faulty assumptions, and because of that also market misalignment. So it's difficult if we don't convert strategic goals and objectives into working solution, working product. It is very difficult then to actually meet the market expectations and have that modus operandi that is about experimentation and trying to find out the market fit for the product that we are having. Therefore, it's even more important these days to have it all holistically implemented from the level of strategy to the level of execution. And this is what I will talk about in a later slides. So that kind of bridging the gap between the strategy and execution is very critical aspect of the business operations and business as a whole, because if that gap between strategy and execution is actually closed and there is no such challenge, so there is a smooth transition from the strategic ideas to how we execute them and how we translate them onto the meaningful product objectives, onto the meaningful product roadmaps, onto the clear and transparent priorities behind the products, the requirements that we then also create with the engineering team. All of it, if this is overcome and bridged, then it is actually creating the alignment. So it is helping to create alignment between strategy and operations. It is helping to create alignment between leadership and the teams that are actually delivering the work. It is helping to improve the performance of the certain specific teams as well as the whole organization. It is actually helping to become more like agile-driven operations where we do have that smaller incremental value delivery. There is this capability, this muscle amongst the teams that they are actually providing that value on a regular frame. And there is also willingness to try out new approaches and new ways of working, new processes, and continuously optimize and learn from it. So all in all, this is really like how agile, how lean we are when it comes to the way how we operate. And also this is actually then helping to create efficiency for the whole business that is perceived as a net promoter score, so or any other success metrics or criteria that the customers will actually recognize after we provided the product to the customer and we started to engage with customers into more like a support service desk type of operations. So it's fundamental to actually bridge that gap between strategy and execution, because only then we can thrive as a business, and you can thrive as a business. You can optimize your business and you can actually see the bottlenecks, see the inefficiencies, and that will also result successfully for the how customers are perceiving the product that we provide. So all in all, obviously that's tricky. It can be tricky and it's not an easy endeavor. because very often you might start asking, okay, where should I start? Like, how should I start? So what is even the right sequence of steps? So how, if I'd like to operationalize that strategy and into solid execution, then what is the right sequence of steps? What tools maybe we need to actually start doing it? How do we pivot? So if we'd like to replace inefficient processes with those that are more productive and helping us to grow and become even faster, for example, as long as that's our objective, then how do we pivot from the current state of affairs? And also, how can we then track whether we are on track? Like, how can we measure that the goals, the objectives that we have set up for ourselves, we are actually approaching them, or we are actually meeting them, and we know that whatever business objectives and product objectives we put on ourselves, or performance objectives or service desk objectives we put on ourselves, there is a method of monitoring it, and there is a method also to make conclusions out of it and then replace or improve going forward. So in these circumstances and that landscape, and my experience made me think about more like a holistic approach to the whole system. When I say the system, I mean the business like as a whole. So I don't only treat it as a engineering team or research and development team. It's like a whole cross-team collaboration that is leading towards successful launch of a product or its version. And based on my observations, conversations with different type of businesses, especially product-driven companies, that they develop their own products, very often sell them in the software as a service type of subscription, I came up with a model that I believe is holistic, and it's called OPTIMA. And that's method, it's like a for system of work that is more like helping to define from the strategy, like what does it mean then to the execution. So it's kind of a framework. You can think about it as a framework where you've got, I help you to define objectives, I help you to establish the processes as they are, and so on. I will be talking about it in a second. So Optima starts with objectives and outcomes. So at that stage, I'm helping you to create crystal clear understanding of where you are today. So what are your strategic objectives and outcomes, and where would you like to see the business 6-12 months from now? So in here, this would be all about visualization of the all different business elements and components, how the cooperation across different departments and roles looks like, what is the structure of the teams, what is the resources allocation, and basically this is all about, on one hand, auditing the current strategy and understanding what is it, trying to see if there is this capability to define objectives in a way that they are like outcomes, and understand 6-12 months from now perspective. The next step is a process mapping. So on that stage, I'm engaging with you on finding constraints that limit growth and strategy execution. So in here, there are certain tools I would incorporate into that stage with you to discuss, like, what is the current workflow, where the work gets stuck, what are the inefficiencies in the current workflow, what is like waiting time, maybe there is lack of specific awareness resources, maybe there are different type of root causes that are actually hindering the team to deliver because of that process. So we closely look into the process and try to map out that process for example, product development life cycle, but holistically again. So it means we not only look into the engineering team, we also look together into the like end to end. So from the moment when there is an idea for the product, throughout the development, pilot testing if needed, and if that's part of the strategy, collecting feedback, making amendments to the product, launching new versions, providing the hypercare support to the customers, and so on. So this is very much covered in that process mapping stage. In the tools and tech alignment, this is very much around understanding how and what type of tool stack is currently being used, and also define how can it be optimized for traceability and transparency. So very often there is a different portfolio of applications that you might be using and companies are using. They come from different family of products. The integration between them very often, from my experience and observations, is not in place. So this is actually again hindering the smooth flow of the data between the systems, and data is very critical for making data-driven business decisions. So that's why the conversation about tools and tech alignment and kind of toolbox is also critical part of OPTIMA framework. In here, it's very also important to recognize how the knowledge is being shared and transferred, how the product artifacts are being stored and connected to the main tools. Are the tools set up and configured for quick access to the information? So in other words, if people were going to access the information, how easy can they access it and make meaningful assumptions based on what they see in those artifacts? So this is like a toolbox stage. Then we have insights and indicators. In here, this is all about collecting the data to make evidence-based decision. So in here, we look together into whether and what type of key metrics you have in place, like key success metrics. This can be like KPIs, but maybe you incorporated objectives and key results framework, and that's also for how you set up the objectives and measure the objectives. And here we also look into the dashboards. Maybe you have some information radiators that are being used to conclude where the product development is currently and what's the progress of it. We also look into like how the teams are actually making learning based on the experience that they've created when working on the product, and we see how those all insights actually are being collected, where are they being stored, and again how tangible of an asset they become for a daily decision making. So that is insights and indicators. And we also have methods and mindset. This is also a critical aspect of the holistic system of work, where we check what is management style and management framework or management method that is incorporated into current product development, how the work is being planned. Are there any like hybrid solutions and methods for management that are in place and maybe they are not necessarily effective? So in here we would also be looking into how can we revamp the whole methods of managing the work. Managing in the sense how the product planning is looking like, managing in the sense of how we help the team to make a clear understanding of what is needed as the next big deliverable for the product, managing in the sense, is there any framework to manage the risks? If yes, great, what's there? If not, then do we need it, why we need it, and how will it benefit us going forward? So that's kind of more like management frameworks and management methods. Next to it, there is a mindset. So on that stage, it is also all about understanding like what leadership skills we have in place, how do we actually help the teams to grow and coach the teams, and do we have any like culture, what is the culture in the company to help grow human potential? Because we all know that for example, high fluctuation amongst the team members is not necessarily well perceived for the product success. So that's why it's always useful to ask oneself what we are doing in our workplace to actually create a culture where people want to belong to. They feel that they are contributing, their creativity is being recognized and used, and their ideas are being heard. And also like what else we can do for people to help them grow their own human potential. And this is very much the focus on this stage. And last but not least, all previous steps are actually leading to, on one hand, like all of them are defined as a state. From as a state, define the future state, and then between define the delta and how we'd like to actually operationalize those improvements. So this is where actions roadmap comes in place. At that final stage, after we've engaged into previous stages, there is a definition of the different change initiatives and activities that will be incorporated and started within the business as a whole, across those different areas, that will all in all start seeing the transformation in your business, and will help you to build up a robust structure and processes and measurement methods and culture that all in all together will start leading to better and more efficient product delivery activities. And that's why actions activities roadmap is kind of a final step. And here we focus on the step-by-step implementation plan. We create the timeline for that implementation. We define who will own specific initiatives. Obviously, we focus on value delivery, so there are also specific objectives defined, like what is that we want to achieve for example, methods. What is that we want to achieve and how we will recognize its change for mindset. What is that we want to see as a tangible outcome for insights and indicators. So all in all, these objectives are also part of the activities roadmap, and they are actually driving the list of activities and timeline. So that is like in a nutshell. I thought I will share it with you because I see it's a very robust framework that can help especially software as a service businesses to grow and settle down with the more like organized structure and system of work. And if you would be willing to start tomorrow, then I would suggest you to ask one question: what would be the first thing you would start immediately from tomorrow? So it can be area, it can be specific smaller topic, but what is that you see you can start doing immediately from tomorrow? And that I will leave with you this question. So for now, I wanted to thank you. If you would like to reach out, feel free and contact me. I would be happy to simply just exchange and listen to your challenges and see how can I help, or if not even help, just simply listen and exchange with you what are the pain points that you are facing and where you would be seeking the highest urgency optimizations. Thanks a lot. See you soon.